Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So first things first, before anything else, huge shout out to 21 Egatron who did make the original version of this spreadsheet that I am now working from and modifying and adding to my own needs. There are, well, first things first, huge shout out to Egatron. Then second thing, yesterday I did my first legendary difficulty path, L1, and I did it in 3 revives. Every single one of those 3 revives were a simple user error. Completely could have been avoided. I just effectively, pushed opponent to a wrong special attack and ate it to the face, or didn't read one of the abilities for Gwynperian. So, could have been done totally itemless, without a doubt. Used 3 revives, not going to get too fast about it. And we're going to discuss every single one of the fights. Before we go further though, and keep in mind that we all do make mistakes, and there have been a couple of complications with the sheet. One of whom I tested out myself, and that turned a simple fight into an 8-minute long fight, which was right here for the Rhino boss, where effectively you need to have like Taunt or Enderweight or similar debuff on the opponent if you're going to knock him down and do damage, because there's Power Shield. And Overseer was one of the suggestions here, and he just worked horrible for this fight because of his ability accuracy reduction on special attacks. It also reduced the ability accuracy of Matador node, which meant that I hardly gained any power, and that stretched out the fight to 8 minutes. So this is a horrible choice. I didn't need a revive. I used my Overseer, still got through it, but it was 8-minute fight instead of 1-minute fight. So in my version of the spreadsheet, I have removed Overseer as a potential option here as well. Obviously there are other options that just listed here. It's just that Overseer was one of the recommended ones. And another big one is the Gwynperian, because Archangel was previously listed here as one of the options, and he just doesn't work because Gwynperian's poison immune, and people have been, getting stuck and wasting quite a lot of revives because of it. So I did remove Archangel from the suggested options here as well. The champion that I used is Ronan, and just in case I forgot to revisit it, your Ronan has to be like big enough. Like I believe 6-star rank 3 high Sig 200 is probably good enough, or 5-star rank 5 ascended possibly can get it done. Mine was 6-star rank 5 Ronan, but if your Ronan is not high enough Sig and not high enough rank, you will not be able to accumulate enough damage to cheese this fight. So keep that in mind. Right. Now, the structure of this is I'm just effectively going to revisit every fight as I did, and how did it go for me. So Yondu is a very basic fight. You just want to avoid debuffing him. There's Rich get richer, so if you do get more buffs than Yondu, which is not hard, you're going to be gaining extra power, which is super helpful. And I just soloed him easily with Odin. Keep in mind that more than half of the champions actually used here, I ended up using 6-star rank 4s and 7-star rank 1s. Partially because I didn't want to, use all the heavy hitters from the get-go, and I wanted to be conservative, but also then it was like a reassuring way that you do not need, 6-star rank 5 ascended champions and 7-star rank 3s and rank 2s to get this done. No, every 7-star rank 1 is big enough to get these fights done. Every 6-star rank 4 is pretty much big enough to get these fights done as well. So that just speaks, of the overall power level of the quest. So I used my 7-star rank 1 Odin, easy solo. Then Black Widow Daily Origin was quite annoying, but effectively I used Negasonic Teenage Warhead, 7-star rank 1 Undupe, but you can use a ton of different champions, and you just kind of have to play her as a debuff immune champion for most part, and then it's not going to be too bad. Black Widow Clairvoyant, I used Anti-Venom, fairly easy solo. Again, pretty much any of these options would work. Against Venom, Kushala absolutely melted him. I used a 6-star rank 4 Kushala, I think, even though I had the 7-star one, just because I wanted to save that. Green Goblin is the stun loop L1 cheat, so any champion that has a guaranteed stun on their level 1 can just, infinitely stun here because of the power reserve and redlining nodes. So, Ultron, Starkhand Spider-Man, Hulkbuster, Gambit, I believe as well. Not entirely sure on that one now after the buff, but I'm quite sure that Gambit as well. Basically, as long as the champion has 100% chance to stun the opponent on the level 1, you can cheese this fight. So Rhino, here again, I would absolutely not use Overseer. Just bring in a Massacre or Nick Fury and you're going to be good. With Nick Fury, spam level 1s. With Massacre, also spam level 1s and you're going to be fine. Do not use Overseer. I should color this red probably somehow. So we can change the background color to, oh, well, it's part of conditional formatting, but yeah, do not use. So I'm gonna write it up here. Do not use. Here you go. Then Red Hulk was a fairly simple fight with Mole Man, also quite an easy solo. Hulkbuster, I use Terrax. If you do not have Terrax, the most important thing about Hulkbuster is getting rid of the armor up buff. So, you know, against Silver Surfer, Medusa, Null would do very, very good job here. Then against Vision Arcus, I used Wiccan, easy solo. Against Hela, this was hella fun because it was a heavy cheese through and through. And that's it. I only spammed heavy attack basically throughout the entire fight. Then against Juggernaut, I just used Hulk. Any poison immune champion works for this fight. Even though it has Caustic Temper, you're going to be gaining Furies from Raising Sun. And that, you know, just means as long as you're poison immune, you're good. Against Weapon X, I use Lady Deathstrike, but again, you can use a ton of different champions that, you know, typically would do well against Weapon X. Electro Luke is a tricky one. It's a fairly tricky fight. Onslaught counters it perfectly, and it was an easy solo, but there aren't too many, like, super great counters, because you have to keep accounting your hits, because every 10 hits you get a faltered passive on you, and obviously damage reflection there, and so on and so forth. But Onslaught does work perfectly for this fight. Namor can do that fight. A handful of other champions also can, like Falcon, Professor X, but it's still significantly harder because you need to counter the miss. Punishing Angel, I just used Toad. This is where I messed up because I ended up pushing him to level 2 and ate it to the face and pretty much died immediately. So it's definitely still perfectly fine with Toad. You can use, again, a whole bunch of different champions too, but just ideally, you know, don't risk the level 2 for most people. Night Carnage with absolute cheese with Shuri. Nebula also completely cheeses it. As long as you place a shock debuff on the opponent, he basically starts regening, and there's a 200% Spectre on the node, so he's going to be starting to kill himself very fast. Spider Witch. Here the most important thing is pretty much just, you know, reverse control immune, because the inverted special attacks can be quite annoying, but it was fairly easy with Mr. Sinister because he regens well when you make a mistake, not bad. Ice Phoenix, I end up using Sasquatch, not necessarily the best option. Iron Man, for instance, is great for it as well. Silver Surfer can be great for it, but, you know, Sasquatch did the job just fine. Against Gwenperion, as I mentioned, I ended up using Ronan, that was a stun lock cheese. And then for the small man, I used Archangel. Also, he went down like a sack of bricks. You can use a ton of different champions here as well. You just need to watch for the fight or flight node, and you're good. Then moving on, against Magneto, I used Silk. This is one of those fights can also be completely cheesed by Miles Morales as well, because of the unblockable specials that Magneto has. Then for MODOK, I personally used the Tuma because of his True Strike and just spammed my level 1s, but any champion with True Strike, True Accuracy, or ability to bypass that MODOK's auto block will be good enough for you. Against Guardian, I used Serpent, but again, Hulkling, Gladiator, Chorus Glaive, the rest of these champions should work just fine. Magneto House of X can be done with just about any champion, really. I just used White Tiger because it's spammy special attacks, but ideally you want, you know, champions with prowess, but if you don't have prowess, then if you are playing aggressive and you are pushing Magneto in the corner, then you will be gaining prowess from the nodes anyway, so you're fine. Tigra was a super quick solo with Red Guardian. Then we have Venom the Duck. I used Adam Warlock, but any champions that crit a lot are good, like Hitmonkey, like Spellsuit Spider-Man, like Bullseye, so on and so forth. Against Hitmonkey, I used Bishop, basically parry heavy until I get level 2. Also quite easy. Punisher 2099 was the redemption of Hawkeye, because my 7-star Hawkeye is like Sig 120, rank 1. But it was a very fun fight, because with Hawkeye I could push Punisher past the bar of power, gain a bar of power myself, use my level 1, drop him below a bar of power, and cycle, and he never gets to use a special attack, and I just keep spamming level 1s, basically. Against Nova, I end up using Prowler. This can be a slightly tricky fight, But again, as long as you do have some sort of power control, you can be pretty much fine. Ideally, access to some power lock as well. So Dr. Octopus, Hulkbuster, Magic, Dormammu, you're good. Immortal Abomination, I used Cassie Lang. Again, tons of different options here. As long as they're poison immune for the most part. Against Man-Thing, that was one of those fun fights where I actually nuked it down with my rank 3 iHulk, I think. So that was definitely very fun. Against Void, I messed up. I ate a level 2 and died from it, but Quicksilver does fine. The gist of this fight is just inflict a lot of debuffs if you want to be knocking him down. Or, get to purify your own debuffs as well. But yeah, any debuff heavy champions will work fine there. Now we have Platpool. I used Photon for it. Very, very, very easy fight for Photon and a perfect counter. Against Dragon Man was an easy torch fight without the pre-fight. And then for Gwynmaster is Juggernaut. Juggernaut's a perfect champion against Gwynmaster because you again ignore the reverse control, so you can just dex special attacks normally, and that takes away all the difficulty of the fight. So that is how I did in Path 1. Now, after I am done recording this video, I will be doing Path 2. In order to do that, I am going to duplicate this and I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to keep updating this sheet. So when I upload the next video, you guys can use also the same link and it's all going to be here. So this is going to be my L2 path, and we're going to make it clear and visible right here. So we're going to clear these 2 lines. Sweet. Clear this line too. And now that is pretty much it. Now these are clear, and as I go and explore this live, you guys will be able to obviously see how I do. And then after I finish it 100%, after I do the second path, I will upload the same video going over fight by fight, who I used, whether there were any complications, so on and so forth. Any questions, feel free to ask in the video description. But for now, that is it. I hope you guys found this video useful, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about